I'm Jan Rudkin. I'm president of Todd Rudkin Incorporated. We've been in business for about 40 years. The company was started by my dad, and I'm actually third generation in the business. I really had no intention of going into the business, but while I was in college, I traded my dad for college tuition. I worked for him and I made markers. And along the way, I found that I was really interested in the business. We did get our first computer in about 1984 or 5, and we used it for creating spreadsheets, which would reflect the number of garments that we spread and the color and the sizes, and that information would go on to the sewing factories. The next step for us was to acquire a Gerber AccuMark system, and we were the first West Coast operation to have one. And that was when they were able to put the grading and marking onto a PC. But we were still cutting with the handheld machines. And then about 16 years ago, we got our first computer-driven cutting machine. And that's revolutionized our business. We have 6 of them now. And about 99% of what we cut is cut by the computer-driven cutting machines. For accuracy, you can't beat it. It really makes for a good quality garment, because the cutting, as my dad used to say, is the heart of the garment. The first step is to start with the patterns. Patagonia provides us with their patterns electronically. Patagonia does their own grading, and they provide us with all the graded pieces. We do, however, then make the marker, which is the layout of the pattern pieces. We do it in miniature, and it's kind of like laying in puzzle pieces, and we lay them out as best as we can to get the best usage. We want to use as much of the fabric as we absolutely can. The first part of the production phase will be the setup phase, where we indicate for our spreaders where they can splice in case there's a damage, where the different sizes are, and we give them a worksheet to keep track of how many plies they're spreading in each color and in each size. Then the next step, it actually goes onto the cutting floor and would go to a spreader. For stretch fabrics, we use 2 spreaders to relax the fabric first and then spread it loosely. For fabric that doesn't have lycra in it, we can use our automatic spreading machines, which is where we have a person can stand on a platform and ride alongside with the spreading machine. And then those machines have an automatic cutoff. So we spread according to the order. We then check to make sure we've spread the right quantities and the right fabric and that everything is okay to go before we actually put a knife in it. Once everything has been double checked, triple checked, we cut out the pieces. The cut pieces get tied up with rubber bands and strapping material and placed in plastic bags, and then they're loaded onto trucks for delivery to sewing contractors, or the sewing contractors might pick up from us. The way we determine how much scrap is left over is based on the layout of the patterns. And patterns do not fit together like perfect puzzle pieces. We arrange them as closely as we can to minimize the amount of scrap, but there's always going to be a certain amount of scrap, and it adds up. It can be anywhere from 20, even 30%, depending on the size of the pieces and how they fit together. Our options for recycling the scrap are pretty minimal. So we take what we can to a company that does these rags, and the other scrap that is not acceptable for their purposes goes to the landfill, to the dump. I have a personal interest in recycling the scrap because it makes good environmental sense. Any of it, the scrap that we can recycle that doesn't have to go to the landfill, saves us money too, because we pay dump fees. The story behind our coat of arms is my father's sense of humor. He had someone design a little coat of arms with a crossed pair of scissors, and across the bottom he took the words "we do not butcher," and he separated the letters in such a way that you have to read it quickly to know what it says. And then he used to test people to see if they could figure out what it said. He had a really good sense of humor.